Both grief and depression have the same intense feelings of sadness and withdrawal. There's a statistic that says that women are twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with having depression. And I have a little interesting observation about that because women are so good about talking about their feelings and what they're going through with their friends, where men, from an objective perspective, are more taught to be more logical in what's going on and be more solution focused. So even if they do have feelings, they might just put them down and not really address them. And they're not always as open to being able and talking to someone and being able to walk through the process of addressing their emotions. So even though women are twice as likely as men to be diagnosed with depression, I think the numbers for men are much higher. And this is the thing. When it comes to our feelings and emotions, it is normal to have feelings of sadness or grief, especially when it comes to develop them in intense situations such as losing a loved one or losing your job, or perhaps being in a job or in a situation, a life situation where you feel hopeless. And the other thing that can have you feeling these intense feelings of sadness is also when you're in a really toxic or difficult relationship and you just break up. There's a void that's there. There's something that needs to be addressed. And when it comes to understanding the difference between depression and grief, it's about recognizing in this moment. What I want you to remember is that it's okay for you to feel feelings of sadness, or it's okay to be depressed. It's important to ask yourself, why are you feeling sadness? This intense feeling where you actually withdraw from all your normal activities for maybe up to 2 or 3 weeks. And can you do anything about it? The other thing is to remember in your feelings, what I want you to feel is that it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to see a therapist, or perhaps even ask your friends or family members to help you go through the process of breaking down what you're feeling and why you're feeling it and what you can do about it. And make sure that the person that you actually invite into the space with you is there to help you process it. They're there to sit with you in the proverbial mud, to get dirty and sit down with you and ask you the kind of questions, not give you advice, not be there to tell you what to do or how to do it, but more to ask you, why do you feel that way? Where is that coming from? How did that happen? And that's how you learn to create space for another person. If learning to create space is something you guys want to learn about, just write in the comments below, and I'll be able to set up a video and teach you how you can actually hold space for another person when they're going through a really difficult time. So now when it comes to the difference and understanding, is it depression or can it be something else? Grief has 5 stages. And the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Now, when I was 38 years old, my late husband passed away from cancer. And yeah, it was a horrible situation, I'm not going to lie. In the process, when he was diagnosed to when he got treatment, the chemo, radiation, excising the tumor, the type of cancer that he had was a liposarcoma. And what he shared with me, along with all of the specialists, was that this is the type of cancer that we're going to do all of this treatment, the chemo, the radiation, and removing the tumor, and then in 2 or 3 years it'll come back. And when it comes back, it'll come back with a vengeance. So in my mind, even though I knew my late husband was going to be passing away, I knew that I would have time, that we would have time to break down whatever it was that had to be discussed, make sure that we had everything in place, which we did, God thank you. But still, it was that understanding of having time and having the tools to be able to recognize that I am going to go through denial and think, oh no, this is going to be okay. He's going to get through this. He's going to be that small percentage that the cancer never comes back. And of course, I went through the anger stages of being so upset, thinking at 37 when he was diagnosed, What is this? I am too young to be a widow. This is not fair that my husband is going to pass away from cancer. He's such a good person. What's going to happen to the dynamic of our family, the insecurity, and also the deep despair that comes with loving a person and recognizing that at some point in your time, your journey together, he's going to be gone much sooner than you planned, is something to go through. So when I express to you the importance of recognizing, is it depression of either a family member, a loved one, a friend, a job or a situation that you feel completely hopeless in, or is it in a relationship that has been super difficult and now you've moved through the other side of that, and what do you do next? So what I want you to remember is that sadness and grief is really okay. And the objective when it comes to going through the process is to go, okay, this is where I am. This is a sticky situation, and perhaps you're uncertain of what to do or where to go next. And that's why it's so good to ask questions and to be able to ask yourself, okay, this is where I am. What do I do next? And the next question is, okay, what do I want out of this situation? So if you're looking at something like you're unhappy with your job, which so many people are, when you look at that and you feel listless or you feel hopeless or you feel like there's nothing to go out of this, and you're having these feelings of sadness and you're having these intense feelings of hopelessness, right? Which is the same panel as depression, because when you're in the panel of depression, you have intense feelings of sadness, but you also have this intense feeling of, for example, if someone passes away, that you want to be with them, that you just cannot be here in this earth anymore. That's someone that's going kind of down that darkness rabbit hole that needs help and needs a little assistance in being able to look at the big picture of the situation, which sometimes when we're in the middle of such sadness and such intense emotions and feelings, it's so difficult to be able to look at the micro aspect of it, the moment that I'm in, and being able to lift your head and look at the big picture of everything that's going on. So when you look at the situation of the 5 stages of grief, remember that the 5 stages are an attempt to process the change and protect yourself from the situation while you adapt to the current state of reality. Let me say that one more time. When you're going through those 5 stages of grief, it is important to recognize that the stages of grief are an attempt to be able to process the change that you're going through and to protect yourself while you're adapting to the new reality that is before you. So when you think about what is the new reality that's before you, whether, like I said, you've lost a job or you're in a job that you're really unhappy with. Okay, first and foremost, I don't know about you, or perhaps it's my age, I was always taught you don't move to another job until you have something in place. You don't leave your job until you have something in place, right? Or at least if you have resources that you know that you're going to be okay for 6 months or 8 months or a year, just in case you don't find a job. So it's always good to remember that. And also the process of understanding, why are you unhappy in your job? Are you unhappy because you have an excessive amount of responsibility and you don't really know how to manage the time? Are you unhappy because you don't have top management or people below you that are in a transparent situation that helps you to be able to be better? While you're in these moments, are you actually asking for help from the people around you that help you to be able to do your job better, or express the inability or the frustration you feel of not being able to do your job properly and wanting better tools, right? Because the thing is, if it's something that you're not addressing in your relationships or in a job situation, if you're not choosing to deal with it then, you're just going to be taking on to the next relationship or to the next job that you're going through. So when you're going through and you're actually, for example, losing a job, and you know that these are the things that you've done, that you've actually spoken up about yourself, you've established boundaries, you've stated what you wanted, your wants, your needs, your desires, and you've been very clear about it, and you are still incredibly unhappy with your job. So now that you're going and leaving this position and going to something new, it's important to remember this is a transition. And there is going to be the 5 stages of grief because you're losing this aspect of yourself as you're moving into something else. The same way that you would do this using the 5 stages of grief when you're moving through a relationship and now it's ended and there you are with this void of having this person in your life every day and now they're there, you are going to have a semblance of denial. Right? When you break up, there's always that first month where you're just like, we need a little bit of time when we come back together. But if you're not actually doing the work to be able to get back together, you're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So it's a denial of, no, we're okay, we can make it happen. And then you go through the stages of anger where you're furious thinking, who is this person to leave me, or what are they doing that I can't have a relationship with them? And you become really angry and frustrated. And that's a honest position to be, and it's okay to feel that intense amount of emotion, right? And then the second thing is you're always going to go back with this kind of bargaining. Well, if I do this and this, then we can get back together. Or if he did this and this, then I would love him more. Or if I did this and this, then we would be in a relationship where we both feel safe in, right? There could be that kind of bargaining situation. And that's followed by that you're going through, which is okay. And I can tell you, between denial, anger, acceptance, bargaining, and acceptance, you actually end up kind of going from bargaining to denial to being angry to bargaining to being depressed to going back and forth. And all of these feelings and emotions are okay to express because all of this is a process. So recognizing that, is it depression or is it grief? Both depression and grief, they share sadness. They also have this sense of withdrawal that you come out from your life. You don't want to see people. You don't want to talk to people. You might have some kind of numbing tool that you use when you're feeling depressed or you're having these intense emotions, such as eating to be able to comfort yourself, or drinking, or using a type of, DRUGs to be able to deal or cope with the situation that you're going through. It could also be gaming or watching Netflix to an extent that it's for like days and days and days and days. These are some things to be really aware of because it helps you recognize I'm withdrawing from my normal activities. I'm heading into myself. So in those moments, it's always important to, one, allow yourself to feel the emotions that you're feeling. Secondly, it's okay to know that, why am I here and what can I do about it? And if you don't know why you're here or what you can do about it, it's so important to reach out to either a healthcare provider or a family member or a friend that will sit down with you and hold space with you as you get in the mud of your emotions and feelings and be able to process through it, recognizing that at the end of this, you will have an acceptance of yourself and an acceptance of the situation. And don't feel bad, because so many of us don't know how to actually go through the process of recognizing that it's just intense sadness and not depression. And if it is depression, make sure that you go and see a doctor and talk to them, because depression is not something that happens over a week or a month. It's something that actually builds up over 6 months or a year. When you talk to your therapist, they do extensive testing and they ask you a lot of questions, and to be able to make sure and assess that, is it depression that you're going through, or is it the intense feelings of sadness and withdrawal that come from experiencing a great loss. And that loss can be either a family member, a loved one. It could be losing your status in your job position, or feeling hopeless because you don't feel that you are where you are in your life, or it could also be the dissolution of a relationship. So I trust that understanding this information and having a clear understanding of the difference between, is it depression, or is it that intense feeling of sadness and withdrawal that come from expressing and feeling grief. And as you move forward, remember that what do you do about it? What you do about it is that you feel the sadness and you feel that state of grief that comes with that emotion, with the situation that you're feeling, and ask yourself, why am I feeling what I'm feeling? And is there anything I can do about it? Because being able to ask those questions allow you to be able to create a plan to move forward. And as you move forward, what I want you to feel is that it's okay to ask for help. If you need to talk to a healthcare provider, or again, have a friend or a family member to help hold that space. And like I asked earlier in the video, if learning how to hold space for yourself or somebody else is something that you guys are interested in, let me know, and I'll create a video about how to hold space for another person, because it's so important to do it for another person and also for ourselves. And lastly, what I want you to know as you walk away from this is that it is completely normal to feel sadness or grief, and that the objective is to go through the process of recognizing, here's where I am, what am I going to do about it, and how do I get from where I am to where I want to be. It's an honor to help you through your wellness journey. My name is Vanessa. I'm a certified life coach. Every Thursday, I drop a new YouTube video. And on Wednesdays, if you go to my website at vanessaleecurley.com, there's a blog on every Wednesday that I put in there, along with great other articles and information for you to use to remember that your life is a wellness journey. And everything you need to do is within yourself, by just asking the question, what is it that where am I right now? What is it that I want? And how do I get from where I am to where I want to be? See you in the next one.